All right, welcome to everybody who's joining us on Zoom. We're going to get started in just a moment, but please excuse the awkward silence for a moment that our lovely special guest has agreed to fill while I get live on Facebook. We're live. Fantastic. All right, so welcome. Thank you to everyone who's here. Thank you to our special guest who I'll introduce in just a moment. So this is yet another edition of our Not at the Museum Thursday nights digital programming. And as usual, I would like to begin our night with a land acknowledgement. The Niagara region of Ontario is located on the traditional shared territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Chinootan peoples. The Chinootan people have called these lands home for thousands of years, and more recently, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee have been sharing the land as one dish, one spoon treaty territory. My name is Christine Girardi. I'm assistant curator here at the Niagara Falls History Museum, and tonight we have a very special guest with us. Brooke Bentley Blackburn is the primary composer and guitar player of the Juno-nominated Toronto-based rhythm and blues band Blackburn. Performing for 30 years as a Canadian musician, Brooke has accumulated a vast repertoire of original compositions. His solo album Songs consists of blues, groove songs, and ballads that incorporate various styles and compositional methods acquired throughout his unwavering career. Now that's just a fraction of Brooke's usual bio, but we don't want to give away all the goods just yet, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for being here, Brooke.
My pleasure, always.
It's great to have you with us.
I love talking to people and getting to know new people. I dig it.
So tonight, I'm going to be asking Brooke a bunch of questions about his musical career and his heritage. And Brooke has been lovely enough to agree to answer any questions you might have, my friends who are joining us on Zoom or Facebook Live. So if you have any questions as the evening goes on, if you're joining us on Zoom, you can write them into the Q&A function and I will ask them of Brooke for you. And if you're joining us on Facebook Live, then you can just put your questions in the comment section and I will do my best to check that as often as possible. So Brooke, you were born into a very musical family. Can you tell me a little bit about your dad and his career?
My dad's been playing blues and rock and roll since about 1955 in Toronto. Was one of the first band to open up the original Blue Note and on Yonge Street. He's been playing and recording for many, many years, and sort of is one of the iconic musicians in Toronto in the rock and roll scene. Most cats that I've met through the years that are, I'd say a little senior to me, they say most of them, pretty well all of them say the first rock and roll band they ever seen in Toronto was my father. So Bobby Dean and the Gems back in the 50s and the 60s, So, and then he played at some legendary places in Toronto for many, many years, like the Zanzibar Tavern, the Le Coq d'Or, and mainly on Yonge Street. Everything was Yonge Street was back then. So I remember going to see my father, when we were very, very young, and my mother had to work during the day. We'd go with my dad downtown to Yonge Street to check out the matinee show that he had. So we'd always check out, and usually people playing at the Colonial, which is a little bit south of Dundas. they'd come up and jam with him in the afternoons, and we'd be there in the back. Couldn't come up to the front, but we're in the back listening.
That's what must be some great memories there.
Oh yeah, great memories. Oh yeah. I mean, we met so many musicians throughout the years. And like I say, I come from a musical family. All my brothers are musicians, Dwayne, Robert, Corey, they all play. And so it's a family affair for sure.
You guys certainly come by it honestly, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So that's a great segue. So tell me about the band Blackburn then.
Yeah. Well, Blackburn started when my youngest brother was old enough to play in the bars, basically. Actually, I don't even think he was old enough, but he played anyways. But and yeah, we started off basically just playing, different things in clubs, and then we did a house gig in Mississauga, in just west of here, and we played there every weekend. After I think my dad had played there prior to that, and then we got in there, and my dad was off to bigger and better things, and so we played there as a house band, and we said, well, if we're going to do this, why don't we build a studio at the same time? So we took a little bit out of each week's pay and bought lumber and did whatever. And my mom was so kind to let us use her 3-car garage. So we turned that garage into a studio. And my younger brother, Dwayne, had just been starting, like he was singing, but he never really sang that much live. And then we started singing. I think the first song I ever heard him sing was Summertime live. And it's so beautiful. And since then we got into the studio. I used to sing everything except for the Summertime. And I think he'd sing Kansas City, 2 songs at that. Then we go into the studio and he sang every single song in the studio, so it's just like, he had this beautiful golden voice, and I sang like a portion of a song that I wrote, in the studio. And then ever since then, that was, our first record, I think, was around 96. And then we've been recording ever since, and we're on our 5th or 6th record. I think our 5th record, and we were Juno nominated for Brothers in This World, and we had a blues album before that called Brotherhood, an album before that called Livin', and an album before that called Soul Searching.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's it like playing with your brothers? Obviously you enjoy it because you've been doing it for so long, but can you share like a favorite memory of this band?
Playing together, Lock in a Groove. It's really you say a favorite memory, it's always favorite memories for me. Every time we play, when Corey locks down a groove, and even when we're just doing a sound check, we'll mess around a little bit, make it funky, whatever. We'll just mess around, and then Corey just lock in a groove. So I'll just do a groove, and then Dwayne will come in with a little bit of keys, and then Neil will come in on saxophone, and Andrew come in on bass, and then you just got this groove happening. And every time, it's just so nice, It's just so I guess my favorite memories is just playing live and recording. We're all in the studio together with my older brother Robert, who also is one of the primary writers for the band. So it's just it's really, it's always a real nice family thing, because it's our business. It's who we are. We're musicians, we've been playing live since we could remember, and you know what I mean, musically, and that's just who we are. My dad's a musician, and I always tell people, if he was a dentist, we'd be a family of dentists probably, but we're not. We're a family of musicians, so that's life.
Well, thank goodness he wasn't a dentist.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you'd be a great dentist, but.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
So do you have a favorite song that you've recorded with your brothers?
Oh, do I have a favorite song I recorded with my brothers? I wrote a song called Four Brothers, which is a song I wrote it was a day before we're in the studio, and we're recording an album called Brotherhood. And we're at this rehearsal place, so we're just getting the grooves tight and working on them. And then the guy who produced it, my friend Lance, said, "We need one more song." And I said, "Oh yeah, okay." So I went home that night, and I started messing around with little groove, just 4 chords. just mess around. Then I started thinking about when I was younger, what was most important. Like when I grew up, my brother Corey was born when I was 10. So it's like, I remember a long time ago when we were kids playing by the road. I remember that day that you came along. Bless our family. So so that these words came to me, like, because I was 10. He came along, and then we had a drummer, you know what I mean? But I mean, he was just a baby, but it's like we needed a drummer. So yeah, I came along, and I haven't played that song in a while. And I got to remember what key I'm in that tune.
That was very obliging of your parents to provide a drummer when you needed one.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't play if I can't remember these songs, but sorry, I messed up a little bit on that, but I caught it on the end. So. I haven't played. Well, these days you don't play that much, and you don't play these songs, and it's like, okay. But yeah, I would say Four Brothers is one of my favorite songs I've ever written about my family, anyways. That's
fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
So we've talked a bit about Blackburn, but can you tell me a bit about the Bentley Collective?
Yeah. See, I grew up playing electric guitar, and I got an acoustic guitar very late in life, and I didn't even know how to really play an open chord. I mean, I knew how to play it, but I never really was. I was more into playing bar chords, like, kind of jazz kind of stuff. And then I got an acoustic guitar, and I played all these open chords. It's beautiful. I said, oh man. And then I opened up an idea of writing, and then I wrote a lot of songs with these pretty open chords. And Blackburn is not really an open chord kind of band. It's more of a funky groovy band. So I needed another band that I could play acoustic guitar, sit there and strum some chords and sing some songs that I wrote, and that's what happened. And I said, well, in order for me to do that, I gotta hire a guitar player to play all the lead stuff, and I'll hire a rhythm section. And then I said, and I got a grant. We applied for a grant. We applied for 3 grants, 2 through the Toronto Arts Council and 1 through Factor, and we got all 3 grants from songs that I wrote. So I said, well, I'm going to do the Bentley Collective, and we did the other 2 grants towards the album that we did. So with the Blackburn album. So it was like, yeah, it was good. It was good. So I started playing with the Bentley Collective live. And then when people ask me to write songs, I write songs with that kind of things in mind. I kind of write a lot of different songs about the Black community. So then I wrote a bunch of songs for a play called The Postman Walks. And when I did that, I wrote these songs for this play, and which was played over the Pan Am Games in Toronto. And then I realized that I really definitely need to put something together so I can, start playing these songs that I written in an acoustic vibe. So then I put together the Bentley Collective. So yeah, so it's a collective, and I say collective. It's me. I wrote the songs, but it's my friends. I'm hanging with my friends, so that's why it's the collective. I don't like to say it's about me. The music I wrote, yes, but it doesn't. It comes to another plateau with my brother. It doesn't really plateau, actually. I shouldn't use that word. It goes to another space, another place with everybody in the band, especially when you have people interpreting what you do, which is really cool. I write a song like that when I just playing The Postman. It's like, I can play it by myself. Then you hear somebody interpret your music, and it comes out so beautiful, and you feel so proud, that you have people that not only want to play your music, but they get into playing your music, and they appreciate the value of it. So that's why I like writing music.
That's fantastic. So you started with the electric guitar. So who taught you how to play the guitar?
Well, I started playing the guitar, I got a guitar when I was about 6 years old. It came down Christmas morning, and there was a guitar on the under the Christmas tree and a set of drums. So back then, you know, it was you know, Sears was really popular, and it was like a Sears guitar and Sears pair of drums. And so my older brother grabbed the drums, and I grabbed the guitar, and I'm, you know, messing around, but I didn't really get into it. So I kind of put it away and then never really touched it for years. And then I was about 13, and I started getting into it. I started really digging the guitar, and then I listened to George Benson. And George Benson was a huge, you know, when it related to guitar. But really what I wanted to do was play with my father on a show. You know, I've always wanted to gig with my father. So my father kind of showed me stuff on the piano, and I kind of transferred it on guitar to try to figure it out. And then because my father, my father and mother were one of the people in the music industry that really had a house, which was very uncommon back then for musicians. And it was, so we had a house, and we had a lot of people always stay at our house. So we had a cat that came in from they'd go to Vietnam and come to Canada and realize, you know, want to come here and live a fruitful life. And a lot of the musicians would stay at our house. So a guy named Gary Martin showed me, and he was taught by the guy who was George Benson's rhythm guitar player, Phil Upchurch. So he taught me, and 30 years later, I'm playing in Calgary doing a thing for CBC, and this guy's in the crowd, and he says, "Man," he says, "I really like your changes." So I'm doing some changes, you know, some blues changes. And he says, "I really like you play guitar." And I said, "Oh, thanks, man." He says, "My name's Gary." I said, "Gary?" He said, "I used to play with your old man." I said, "Really? You play with my old man?" Okay. And I said, "Gary." I said, "Not Gary, the guy who taught me how to play guitar." And I said, "Yes, Gary." So 30 years later, I see the guy who taught me how to play guitar, and literally 30 years in between, you know. And then he said, "Oh, I really like what you're doing." And then we went to a jam session that he did in Calgary on the Sunday, and me and him played together, and we played Georgia, you know, just me and him. I said, "I appreciate everybody on the band stage, but can you guys, okay if I just do a song with the guy who taught me how to play guitar?" You know, and we did it, and it was so beautiful. And then people came up to me, "Oh, that was such nice sentiment. I got to do that with the cat who played, you know, taught me, you know." So
that's such a unique opportunity to be able to perform with the person who actually taught you how to play guitar, that there was this disconnect for so long, and to randomly meet each other again. That's really cool.
Yeah, completely random. Couldn't believe I guess they had advertised that I was going to be there with a very, very close friend of mine, Shakura Saida. And so it was just me and her doing a duo. And I guess they had advertised because it was at the festival theater, and it's the people that run the Calgary Folk Festival. So they're very, very prominent in Calgary area. And I guess he saw, and he was going to a gig. He just did a sound check and came by, and he was all in his 3-piece suit and tux and tails and doing a Motown thing. And I said, "Oh, well." I said, "Okay."
Fantastic.
But yeah, man, a long time ago. Yeah.
That's great. That must be such a great memory to have playing with him.
It is. It's an amazing memory. I mean, this cat taught me how to play guitar, taught me to play like some George Benson stuff. The first song I ever learned was Affirmation. George Benson. And it's just, he taught me, you know, so I remember that and all that. Some of that breezing and stuff, all that guitar stuff. He said, you know, you gotta, I remember what he said to me. He said, "You gotta let every note ring." That's what he was always saying. Let every note ring. And I remember, I'll never forget that. This guitar is
such a huge smile on your face right now while you're
Do
playing. Yeah, you had this beautiful, like, I could,
it comes naturally.
right in that memory, right in that moment. It was great.
Oh, good. That's nice.
Well, we can segue from this awesome memory of playing with the man who taught you how to play guitar to my next question, which is, you have had the privilege of playing along some very prominent musicians. Can you tell us a few of them, and maybe sessions?
Yeah, I've done a few gigs with different people. I mean, mainly Canadian, sort of iconic kind of cats. I played with a guy named Eugene Smith for a long time. He's very famous well, not famous, but he's a very popular cat in the music business. He's in BC now. I don't know. I played with a lot of people. Ernestine Anderson, I jam with at the jam session. She's a blues singer from way back. I've jammed with a lot. We've opened for a lot of people, mainly from New Orleans. But I don't know. I played with a lot of people. I just can't remember every name off the top of my head. I think Martha Reeves. I think I did a thing with her one time. But mainly, I did a show out in Memphis just recently with 4 singers. And that was really, really nice. Lady A, the lady that's in the situation with the Antebellum or something like that, or I think she's had the name Lady A for a long time. And yeah, I played with her and I played all over. I toured. Shakur Saida pretty well is the one I tour with when I'm as a guitar player, not as Blackburn. And we toured through France, and she's a big, well-known Canadian act. So, and we're supposed to be together at the Taj Mahal Legendary Blues Cruise, and we obviously got canceled. So I did a thing with her recently, and playing with my dad and playing with my brothers, and I don't know. There's a lot of people I played with, but you know what? I got to fix my my bio there because it says 30 years. I've been playing Toronto over 40 years now. 42 years I've been playing live in Toronto, and so I played with a lot of people, a lot of cats, but I just can't remember everybody. Just cats sit in all the time, and it's nice, stuff like that, but I really can't remember everybody at the top of my head right now.
That's great. So you mentioned obviously a show being canceled there with COVID-19. Can you share with us how COVID-19 has affected your career and how you're keeping busy through isolation, that sort of
COVID-19 shut down the music business, like basically shut it down. And especially for me, because I'm a live player. So yeah, it really shut it down. It really sort of changed everything. And it's transformative in the sense that you can sit at home and do nothing, or you can do something about it. So I started writing, and I've written probably pretty well a new record from it, including the stuff that I did for Bravo Niagara. And most of the stuff that I've written almost the full record of say folky R&B stuff, and then I've written a lot of jazz stuff too through this time. So it's been okay for me, just because I live here and I got my studio here, and I'm just being as creative as I can be, and then sending tracks to my friends. If you check out my YouTube thing, you'll see that I have all these little squares of different players, everybody at home, and then I lay a track down here, lay the concept, usually get my brother Corey to send me the drum track, and then I lay a song down, and then I play all the parts, piano. You see I got guitars and bass and piano behind me. I don't know if you can see the piano from there, but so I have everything here. So I lay it all down, send it out to my friends, and with song completed, and then song without bass to a bass player, without piano to a piano player, and so on, without drums to a drummer. And then they lay their thing and send it back to me, and we did those videos. A buddy of mine, Paige, put the videos together. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good. And he also plays guitar on a lot of the tracks. So it's been really nice. It's been more focused on the Bentley Collective writing concept, writing folky, writing different styles, and it's funny because I don't intend to write different styles, but when I write it, just whatever happens. Like Sister Wilma, like the Wilma song, it's interesting.
It's great. Finding the silver lining and being able to use this time to be creative. That's important.
Yeah, I think it's important, as any artistic person, is to be as creative as they can be. And I'm older, so it's like, it's not the whole internet and the thing is a to put out these videos, to do these Zoom streaming and do all these different things that I've never done before. You know what I mean? It's been really eye-opening for me. Something new, something that's really been really been something new, and it's good. It's good. It's good. So it's fun and creative, and yeah, something new. So
I think that COVID-19 has been really good about finding new ways for us to feel connected as humans. And it's been really neat to see what people have been doing and how, different ways of being able to interact with one another. So
yeah, it's been really nice. It's been really nice. I mean, there's nothing like being with your friends or your loved ones, in the same room. But I mean, we all understand that we have to be careful. We have to be as safe as we can. And, if we have older people in our lives, you know what I mean, then we have to think about them. And I wrote a song called Heroes through this thing about it really got to me when I saw people in a nursing home that had to see their loved ones through a glass. It really, really got to me. It really, really upset me. So when I get very emotional and deep, I write music. I've been through a few things in my life. So and my father always said, it's just life, and write about it. So I write about it, and I wrote a song called Heroes, and it's a lot of people kind of dig it, and it's about and it's a lot of people say it's about the frontline workers, but I say it is about what they're doing, and I really appreciate it. But I wrote it for the senior citizens who have taught me who I am and what I play, how I play. I played, when I started playing guitar and playing in clubs, I was playing with older people that were playing with my father. So who you, man, who you? Bobby's son. You're Bobby's son. Okay, come in and sit in. You know what I mean? So, and if you didn't trust me, if you didn't know the song, you got off that stage right quick, and then you came back on the stage when you did know that song. And trust me, they're talk about tough love. Like, music business is tough love, big time. So but I appreciate everything that I've got from the Kingsley Etiennes, the Dougie Richardsons, you know what I mean? All these cats, the Gary Martins and my father, all these cats that I grew up playing with all my life that were iconic in the music business in Toronto. And they allowed me on stage, and play with them. And then they call me for gigs, you know what I mean? And that's so beautiful. And here's this, young kid on guitar, just sort of trying to make his way through, but it's so I appreciate everything they've done for us, the heroes of our lifetime, of my lifetime, and of everybody. I think everybody learned everything from their elders, and, I just want to give them props, that's about it. Respect.
That's wonderful. You touched a little bit on this here just now, talking about heroes and what was your inspiration for that song. In general, I've always been very interested in the composition of music and how it comes about. I really wonder if you could share a little bit about what inspires you to create music and what that process is for you.
Okay, it's an interesting question, because a lot of people ask me, so if I'm sitting on guitar and I'm just messing around and ideas come to my head, so I'll do this, and then I'll hear the melody. So I'll just mess around saying G, A minor, and I'll go to F, and then back up to G, and I'll say, okay, that feels good. And then I hear ideas. Now, I could be on the guitar, I could be on the piano that's right behind me, and play something on the piano, just ideas, and then I'll sing, also try to get some melody for that idea, and then it'll come to me, and then words will come to me as I play. So I'm going here. Take me away from you. Take me away, let me live. Take me away and let me live. I don't know what that means, but it just came to me, you know what I mean? But that's the way I just write. So just ideas, and then I get ideas. So maybe after I finish this, I might even finish that song. Who knows? You know what I mean? But I mean, it's similar to other things I've written, so I probably won't, you know. But then I'll hear maybe a minor third, then I'll go down, and it's just it's different. And then I'll write a bass line, like I'll do like a. So I'll have the bass line. Then I'll say, oh, that's cool. You know, I'm messing around the bass. So that's cool. Then I'll just go kick the computer on, do a groove, and then I'll think of, okay, what's going on in the world? Like the people, black people trying to get their way, trying to let everybody know that we're all beautiful people and we all need a chance to survive. So I'll think of freedom. I'll think of the freedom of my ancestors that came up from the Underground Railroad through fighting through slavery, and then I'll write something about freedom, and then I'll write, you know, about beautiful people all over the world. But you know, more I try to be as focused on the world that I know, that through the Underground Railroad, through being black in Canada, being black in the US, having my culture, and I try to get as I'd say not political, but as poignant as I can about the culture, because you know, I just want to let people know that it's important that you remember your past, but it's also important that you keep reminding people, you know, that the future is going to be beautiful, but you got to remember what happened back in the day, so you remember where you came from. And I think it's very important, and I try to write that in my music, and then I write about, you know, the way I want the world to change, and the way the world has changed and how beautiful it is. But I think it's important that it keeps on changing to a progressive landslide compared to a regressive. Like, I don't want to. I don't want that. I want to be progressive, and to let everybody you know, think that way. And people understand that in my music now. Like, I'll write about my family. When I write about my family, I talk about the Underground Railroad. And the music that we have, we got the show for Bravo. I did a song called Freedom Train, and Freedom Train Right On. And it was just came to me, freedom, freedom train. So this groove came to me, and then I wrote about that. You know, it's just like, and I got my brother to sing it, and it's cool. But it's important, you know. And Freedom Train talks about where we came from and where we're going. You know what I mean? And you know, the collective life of everybody living together as one, you know, not separated, together, you know.
Would you mind sharing a little bit of your heritage of those freedom seekers, their stories?
Yeah. Well, my family came from the Underground Railroad from Kentucky, and there was runaway slave that came up through Kentucky, and came up through basically, I guess, Maryland, and came across around the Detroit area, and came up to basically up to Owen Sound. So came up through Detroit, Windsor, Buxton, all that area, Chatham, came up and kept on going. I guess he came west, or he was west, and he came east, and then he went north, and came all the way up to basically a place called Holland Center or Owen Sound area. And at least his kids did anyways. But I'm not exactly sure where he ended up, but his kids ended up around the Holland Center area. And I think he came up all the way to Owen Sound. And he had two kids, and that was my father's. So he was runaway slave from Kentucky, and then his kids were born here, and then that's my father's grandfather was Solomon, I believe, and then my grandmother, who was Estelle, was his daughter, and he had 13 kids. So he had a whole bunch of beautiful children. So all those kids, you know, brought that area, you know, from about 100 years ago, 100 and change years ago, to Owen Sound, and really helped bring that city into what it is today. You know, it's just a nice little northern city. And so that whole area of the Grey Bruce, we have a lot of family that were in the working on the ships and stuff like that. And yeah, and our family is really we're kind of started being populated from that area. And then my grandmother, I guess, and my grandfather, I think they met in Toronto. I'm not exactly sure where they met, but my family was raised in Toronto. So from the Underground Railroad, freedom seekers came up to Freedom and came all the way to Canada and ended up in Owen Sound, which is the most northern terminus of the Underground Railroad.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Emancipation Festival in Owen Sound.
Yeah, Emancipation Festival started off as a picnic. We had a family picnic in Owen Sound for over 156 years. It's been going on. So I think it was prior to Owen Sound being a city, or prior to Owen Sound being Owen Sound. Okay, so that then it evolved into a festival. And I was asked at one point to put together some kind of music, and there's always been music at it. Every year there's always music at it at the Emancipation Festival. So, but again, it was a family picnic. We just call it the family picnic. What are you doing on August 1st? Well, I'm going up to Owen Sound, and it's the Emancipation. See, August 1st is from 1834, when the peoples were emancipated from the British, because of course we're Canadians. So that's the heritage. But our lineage comes up from the States. So not until like 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation, 1863, 1865. But we celebrate the August 1st one, which is the British. And so we've been doing it for so many years, and my kids and kids of kids and everybody's kids, everybody, and this is your cousin so-and-so, you meet everybody up there, and you have never really met them, but you could have seen them on the street, in Toronto, because everybody kind of makes their way to Toronto. So yeah, that's kind of where my family kind of came through, and yeah, it's good. It's good. That's kind of the heritage of it, and then that's the emancipation heritage of my family through the Underground Railroad. And then my grandfather was from a place called Montserrat, but my grandmother's heritage is what we celebrate through the emancipation, through the Underground Railroad.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
And clearly that's had such a huge impact on you in your musical career and the composition of songs that you've written.
Well, people know us as people who are going to speak the truth about where we came from. People know Blackburn as that entity of music. If you want to see something real, you come see Blackburn, you come see the Bentley Collective or whatever, and they're going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story about my father playing rock and roll in the 1950s. I'm going to tell you a story of where we came from. I'm going to tell you a story about the Underground Railroad. I'm going to tell you a story about the first black postman in Canada that I wrote a song about. I'm going to tell you a story about Wilma Morrison after the video comes out. I'm going to tell you a story about Freedom Train. I'm going to tell you a story about Freedom in the City of Life. I'm going to tell you the story of who we are and what we have to contribute to this beautiful world we live in.
I love that. Clearly, as a museum professional, that's what I do. I share stories, and I love to see that you do the exact same thing, just through music. That's really beautiful.
And it's kind of cool because I play with musicians that that we've all grown up playing clubs and doing what we got to do. But if you play with, I don't think there's much storytelling anymore. You're playing clubs, you get people dancing, you do whatever. And then they play with me and they say they really like the stories that I tell. And I said, well, I grew up playing with musicians like Eugene Smith that he always told a little bit about what he wrote the song about and where it was popular at one point. And it's got a lot of, like, I even write a lot of Canadian history in my not necessarily Black history. I've got a song that I wrote for my father called Bobby's Blues, and it talks about the Avro Arrow, the plane that was discontinued. It talks about the 1954, the hurricane in Toronto, Hurricane Hazel. So, I try to get a lot of Toronto history. I love history. I love it. If I wasn't a musician, I'd probably be a history teacher. So I'm trying to put them both together, but I need to educate. I didn't go to university for English or anything like that, or history, but yeah. So, I dig the history of life and the history of Toronto. And being in Toronto and playing in clubs, I played this club, and then my father would tell my father, I'm playing this club on Sherbourne, or I'm playing this club on Girard, or I'm playing this club on King Street. And I played this club on King Street called Knowledge Jazz Festival for years. And he said when he was a kid, he used to sell newspapers off that. He was a newsie off that corner of John and King. You know what I mean? With my with his older brother. You know, so it's like it's amazing. And in the buildings, you know, unfortunately, Toronto, they don't keep as many heritage buildings as they should, as far as I'm concerned. And my dad would tell me, oh, this hotel, that hotel was there, this was there. And now they make plaques for these places that they've torn down. But I mean, I appreciate that to let people know what it's about. But, you know, these were landmarks, like the Colonial Tavern in certain places, you know, the landmarks, like places where Black people came up here and played music and were appreciated for as people. You know, go down to the States and can't even stay in a hotel or stay in a hotel room, you know, with a white person, but they come up here and they be all integrated, you know, and everything was cool. They're treated as people, like they did in the First and Second World War when they fought down in Europe. You know what I mean? They were treated as people, you know, so it's crazy world we live in, but people got to keep on, you know, knowing these memories. And that's why I wrote, when they told me about Wilma Morrison, and they asked me, could I write a song about her? I said, sure, you know, I would love to, because she was a documentarian of the people that came up through the Niagara. And prior to this, to be honest with you, my life is really sort of surrounded by the Underground Railroad coming through Windsor and Detroit and coming out through Buxton and Chatham and then up to Owen Sound. So the Niagara region was kind of not really on my radar when it came to that. And I've been woken up, you know, by the people at Bravo Niagara, you know, Chris and Lexa, they woke me up to a lot of that area. And then, you know, Wilma Morrison woke me up to a lot of that, you know, and it's only logical people would come up through that road, you know, because it's bordering, you know, the Niagara River, you know, bordering Canada and US. So obviously they would come through there, but, you know, but yeah, it really woke me up to what happened in that area. And I appreciate people like you keeping the history alive, you know.
I think Wilma Morrison, wherever she is very happy right now, because that's what she devoted her life to, trying to wake people up to Ontario Black history.
Yeah.
And how you and I got connected was through Bravo Niagara and your fantastic project, Sister Wilma, which for our friends who are joining us, Bravo Niagara helped to create a musical short film featuring these songs that you've written, Sister Wilma and Freedom Train, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So these musical short films that features Brooke and really plays homage to Wilma Morrison, which is so beautiful. So tell me a little bit about writing Sister Wilma and your relationship with Bravo Niagara.
I got a call from my friend Christine. She gave me a call and she said, Brooke, you know, this is the story about this person. And, you know, and we really like to pay some homage to what she did and to the people that came here as freedom seekers from the States through to Canada. And so I said, okay, I mean, I would love to. And then she called me, and she knows we're into that, you know, who we are, and she knows the heritage of who we are. So, and she was a big part of putting the I think it's called Voices of Freedom Park or something, the park in Niagara on the Lake. And so I really appreciate it. And we played for that back in the day, a few years back, to help raise funds for that project. And so through Bravo Niagara. So so she called me, and then she said, okay. So then I got off the phone with her, and I'm like, okay, let me see. And I'm working on these changes. I don't. So I'm hearing that, and I'm hearing, okay. It's like, okay. Sister Wilma. And I got, okay. So I got the chorus, like, Sister Wilma. And I'm not like, okay, I can hear that. and I'm playing these, and these are not very, they're common changes, but they're not the style that I usually write in, you know. And then there's the second part. Then after I did all this and I wrote the choruses, okay, I've got the choruses, I've got the verses, I've got the concept of both, and I'm like, okay, and then I'm just messing around in E minor, and then I'm hearing this progression. And I'm saying, okay, well, oh no, I got to write a C part. I got to write a third section. So then it's like this just came to me, these changes. And then I'm like, this sounds, you know, this has got to, I'm doing all these things. And it sounds like Steely Dan. And I wasn't really a Steely Dan fan. Okay. I mean, no disrespect to Steely Dan, good band and everything. But I grew up with like Grover Washington and James Brown and the funk period and stuff like that. So I didn't really grow up with this middle of the road jazz. You know, I like Jimmy Smith and George Benson and that kind of middle of the road, but it was really a little bit more jazz focused. And I'm writing these changes. I said, man. And then I sent it to my buddy Howard. And then I said, man, I wrote the song, you know, I'm going to write it for this thing. And he says, man, that sounds like Steely Dan. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't mean it to sound. Then I sent it to my brother, Corey, and he said, man, that sounds like Steely Dan. And I'm like, well, you know, I don't know why. I really don't know why, because I've never even had a Steely Dan record. Okay, but the style of the music has got these changes. And then fortunately, then I talked to Christine. I said, Christine, I wrote this song, but I hope you like it, but it's kind of like in a Steely Dan kind of feel. And she says, I love Steely Dan. So okay, so that's good. So I'm writing, you know.
I wonder if Wilma was a Steely Dan fan.
Yeah, if there's Steely Dan fans out there, good. You know, I think McFadden, I forget the guy's name, Don McFadden. I don't know the band that well, but and then it changes, and I didn't even think I could ever really write like that. I mean, I could have if I had to, but it's just I never thought I would, and then. You know, and then so now you have, like I say, you've got Blackburn, you've got the Bentley Collective, and now you got something different. Because I know, you know, this I could probably do in the Bentley Collective, or we could probably do in Blackburn. But it's kind of not exactly what we do. It's just something. But the acoustic guitar, man, it's like playing acoustic piano. It gives you all these ideas through the tonality, the resonance of this. You hear all this stuff, the wood, you know, gives you all these ideas, and it's like, okay. Whatever, starting from an E minor, from an open chord, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, and then the story about Wilma E. Morrison, and then they sent me a lot of the CBC interviews that they had with her, or not with her, but about her, and I learned about her. I didn't know Wilma at all prior to writing the song about her, and I learned so much about her, and I appreciate. But I didn't know her, but I knew her. If I could explain that, because she's like my relatives, you know what I mean? Very much into my world, the world I grew up with. And then I realized that my cousin who called me and sent me a text said that she was at that church where I did the video of, and one of her great grandfather was in there. So, and her mother knew Wilma. So it's like, you know, so there is a connection there. You know what I mean? But I know Wilma's spirit. I knew that spirit of that type of person, because I grew up with like my grandmother and the elders of my community. You know what I mean? And always, you know, teaching you about, you know, your cousins this and the family heritage and stuff like that. So you know, I could relate to what she's got to say. You know.
Excellent. So for anyone whose interest has been piqued by this musical short film, it's going to be released by Bravo Niagara, I believe tomorrow. And it's free. So you can, we shared a teaser trailer on the museum's Facebook page. So you can take a look at that, but tomorrow the full short will be released.
Yeah.
So just take a look at Bravo Niagara's, sorry, go ahead.
You know, Misha Berger-Gossman? Beautiful classical singer, opera singer, beautiful, absolutely beautiful singer. She's going to open it up with a beautiful song, and then we're going to kick in with a little bit of Blackburn, a little bit of Wilma Morrison, and yeah. So it's fun. It's so nice that Bravo asked me to ask Blackburn to do it, and asked me to write some tunes for it. So I really appreciate it, you know, and it's been a collaborative effort from the get-go. You know,
That's great.
yeah, it really has. And yourself to be part of it. I really appreciate that too.
Yeah, well, we're so
wouldn't
happy because we
with-
never would have met. We never would have had this event had it not been for Bravo Niagara and Sister Wilma and the project. So, so like I said, tomorrow, anyone who's interested, you can look at Bravo Niagara's Facebook page or their website to gain access to it. I know I'm really excited to see the musical short. So yeah, it's really, really, really beautiful people, and it's nice that you know their importance, their thought pattern is to send good messages out, to beautiful messages out to the world, you know, through Bravo Niagara, and that's you know, they're not just to do this or to that. Everything has got a message. Everything has got a reason, and it's really beautiful. Beautiful people. And I know, Brooke, you've agreed to play us a bit of Sister Wilma tonight, that beautiful message that you wrote. So would you mind sharing your talents with us again?
Yeah, I you know, as long as Christine and her daughter is okay with it, but I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do a little bit. I think they've okayed it. I think.
Oh yeah, they're fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit of Sister Wilma. We just want to tell you, thank you for all you've done for our people. We see. Let me tell your story to the people. Oh, I said our brothers, our sisters, about you. Sister Wilma made a way through life, had a special gift for all, only to heed the call to care. A freedom fighter for the cause, to save our church, its views, to save it all. Got up one more, try to enter the schools. She was rejected because of her color, fight for a few. Sister Wilma made her way through life, had a precious gift for all, only to heed the call to care. Sister Wilma, Mora's son. Sister Wilma, Mora's son. Memories full of love and will live on. There's another verse, but you got to wait for tomorrow.
That was fantastic.
Thank you.
That was such a beautiful tribute to Wilma. That was really great. All right, so that, my friends, is Brooke Blackburn. Do you have anything you want to share with everyone before we say goodbye about anything up and coming for you?
Did they have any questions for me? No,
I haven't seen any questions come in.
Cool.
Actually, hold on a second. Oh, no, just a lot of thank yous. Just a lot of thank yous and a lot of can't wait.
Yeah. And Karen, so yeah. Oh, that's appreciated. Yeah. Well, thank you. I just want to say keep up, the concept of letting people know history, and Canadian history. It's so important to me. It's so important that the young people understand where, the history, also through everything, not just the Black experience, through the Japanese Canadian experience also. That's important. The First Nations experience. Everything is important. You got to know your past, because you don't want to repeat anything that was back then that was negative. You want to just be progressive, and all this is important. And I you know, if I ever get asked to write about, you know, anything that I find socially conscious, I will, you know, because I it's important, and it's so important for the world. You know, the world has got to change into a better place. You know, it's because the hearts and minds of the young people are pure. So, you know, we just got to keep that happening, and realizing that they're the ones are going to bring us to the better place. You know what I mean? And their lives are pure. They're such beautiful people, the younger generation right now. I'm so proud of them. You know what I mean? So that's about it. And anything I can help, man, you know, play music, teach somebody how to write, songwrite, whatever, you know what I mean? It's all good. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. And this, like I say, just keep being progressive, keep being happy, spread the love, spread the word, you know what I mean? And spread music, and get back playing music. It's so important. It's so important, you know. But we got to be safe. So until it's safe to play music, we'll play outside and freeze our butts off if we have to. Whatever, you know.
Oh, Brooke, thank you so much for coming and sharing your talents, sharing your creative process, your heritage with us. This has just been an awesome evening, and everyone who's joined us agrees, because there's so many lovely comments of people agreeing with what you've said and thanking you for this.
Thank them. I appreciate everybody who tuned in and to listen to this, and I really appreciate it. And thank for everybody that's helped me out, all my brothers and everybody that Bravo Niagara, and everybody, you know, all my friends, and that have, you know, helped us working on this project, and the beautiful people from the film company, beautiful young people. And yeah, it's good, man. Good people in the world, you know. Let's keep on spreading the love.
Yes, excellent. That's a great way to end this. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to Brooke for doing this. And thank you to everyone who came out tonight to join us for Not at the Museum Thursday nights. If this was your first time joining us, just keep up on our social media, go to our website. We've always got cool digital programming coming to you every Thursday night through this COVID isolation. And when we're able to gather again in person, we'll be continuing with our in-person programming every Thursday night, free to the public. Yeah. So everyone, have a great night. Thank you again, Brooke. Stay safe out there, everyone.
Thank you very much.